What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of What's the Word, your home for all things sports. I'm your host, Sam Casillas, and before we dive into today's episode, guys, just want to let you guys know we are back in the OG setup, all done with the semester, junior year in the books. We are back from Madrid, back in the OG setup, and you know what that means. A lot more What's the Word for you guys. So what I need you guys to do before we get into it, drop a like, drop a sub, share this to a friend, tell them to share it with a friend. We're trying to go viral with this What's the Word stuff, guys. But without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. The NBA MVP race is settled, and man, this one was a close one. And let me just say, SGA, you absolutely deserve the MVP. And guys, first thing I want to address, I know what you're probably saying at home, but oh, Sammy, oh, he's a foul merchant. Oh, what about the free throws? He's a free throw merchant. Guys, why are we going to act like that is a bad thing, guys? Why are we going to try to discredit him for drawing fouls and getting to the rim and shooting free throws? Like, guys, that is a skill in and of itself. That's the same thing that they tried to do with Joel Embiid during his MVP race. Guys, Joel Embiid was simply too dominant. He was getting to the rack, and they had no choice but to hack him. This is the same thing with SGA, and I don't know why people are using that against him so much. There's literally nothing defenders can do. I've seen it. I've seen them try to guard him. I've seen them try everything they can to stay in front of him without fouling, but they can't because he's one step ahead of them. He plays with such good pace. He controls the game, and that's why he's able to get to the rack and get fouls. And I can't believe people are trying to, discredit him as an MVP, as a hooper, because of his ability to get fouled and get to the rack. I can't wrap my head around that. And I can't believe, we're trying to use that against Shai for his argument against MVP. I mean, I just had to put that to rest right away because, people are saying, oh my gosh, like, it's unwatchable how many whistles he gets. But it's like, you look at him, guys, he's one step ahead of the defense. He's putting them in a bad situation, so they have to foul him. And that's a skill, like I said, in and of itself. So all you people are saying, oh man, but he's a foul merchant. He's flopping. Guys, he's not. He's too good that the defense simply has to foul him. So hats off to him. I mean, you look at him offensively, but you look at him defensively. His two-way impact. I mean, all defensive NBA first team. Finished top 2 in the league in steals. He was disruptive in the passing lanes every game. Wasn't shying away from his defensive assignment every night. I mean, the numbers, they speak for themselves. You take a look at opponents, their field goal percentage when they're defended by SGA, just 44% overall. That's a 3% drop. Lower than expected than what they usually put up against SGA. That shows he's actively lowering opponents in shooting efficiency, which is great as a guard. Number one, I'm going to start there. So keep that defensive in mind. When he's guarding opponents beyond the arc on three-pointers, they're shooting just 34% versus SGA. Again, that's 2% worse than their average. So again, he's not just gambling for steals. He's not just out there, trying to run someone's pockets. He's actively playing defense in the painted area. He's stopping the mid-range. He's actively playing defense beyond the arc. That's 2 right there. And take a look at inside 10 feet, shots within 10 feet by opponents when they're guarded by SGA. 54%. That's 4% below their normal average. So, and that's rare for a guard. You see a point guard to excel that much in paint contests. So, the numbers speak for themselves, like I say all the time. Men lie, women lie, but the numbers don't, guys. You take a look at these 3 categories. You look at, mid-range shots. You look at the painted area. You look at beyond the arc, the three-point area. This guy can defend everywhere at an elite level. Guys are held to under their averages when they play SGA. I mean, it's no secret. And he's a great defender. Great job staying in front of people. Great job moving his feet. He uses his length to his advantage. So SGA, he's doing it on both ends. And then you take a look at the offensive impact. I mean, first in the league in points, 32.7 points per game. 6.4 assists to 2.4 turnovers. So look at that assist to turnover ratio, 2.7. Not only is he dishing the rock, but he's doing it efficiently. He's not just scoring, he's facilitating without wasting those possessions. So that is so important. You look at his plus minus, a 12.1 plus minus on the year. One of the best on-off impact stats in the league, I think, is plus minus. You take a look at that plus minus. OKC really outscored their opponents by 12 points when he was on the court. So SGA, the numbers speak for themselves. I can't harp on that enough. Two-way impact offensively, defensively. Mr. MVP, Mr. All Defense. This guy does it all, and, rightfully so. He deserves the MVP. Joker, I'm sorry, dog. I know you're a hooper, and I know you're going to be top 2 big man, arguably, when it's all said and done. That's going to be an interesting combo, Shaq or Joker. But, I mean, like I said, you're going to be a top 2 big man when it's all said and done. And, this year was just SGA's year. Any other year, my vote goes to you, but SGA, you look at what he's doing, with his boys in the Thunder. He's setting them up. They got a chance to play, for a chip. He's an indispensable piece to what they're doing over there in OKC. And, I think all the more reason why he deserved that MVP trophy. So big ups to SGA, man. MVP, most valuable player, rightfully deserved. But, guys, that's going to lead me to my next topic. Sticking on that NBA train, Western Conference Finals, man. I would like to file a missing persons report. Rudy Gobert. Oh, my goodness. Guys, for the Timberwolves to turn this series around, they're going to need a resurgence from Gobert expeditiously, guys. They need that ASAP because, mind you, this video was recorded when, the Wolves are still down 2-0. So it's been a rough series for Gobert. But, his ability to protect the rim, to grab boards, to contribute offensively, that can be, exactly what Minnesota needs. It can't be the Ant Edwards show, But, guys, Gobert is looking like he has never touched a basketball out there. Golly, he's finally playing a team with a real center. Let's backtrack a little bit. The Lakers, it was honestly barbecue chicken for Gobert. There was no other 7-footer on the floor to compete with him most times. That's why he was looking like prime Shaq out there. You look at the Warriors. They're injured. They like to go small ball. Their biggest player on the floor most times is Draymond Green. Let's keep it a buck. It's not going to work. Gobert was feasting. He looked good. Bam, you get to the Western Conference Finals, you get Chet Holmgren, you get Isaiah Hartenstein. Thunder like to run that too big look a lot of times, and that has completely been working. That's been taking Gobert out of the equation offensively. Guys, 7 points in the entire series so far. It's bruh, run me a contract if that's what Gobert's doing, if that's what they're expecting out of Gobert, if that's all he can give them. Man, the Wolves are going to be in trouble because that is a key part of their team. He's got to figure it out. Like I said, it can't just be the Ant Edwards show. It can't just be, Randall stepping up on occasion against a team like OKC who is complete 1 through 5, no holes in their lineup. You get a great bench. Guys, you're going to need everyone on your team to contribute. Like I said, it can't just be Ant. And, like I said, that Thunder with that dual big look, Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren like to be on the floor at the same time. So, for the Wolves, Gobert's really got to do his part defensively and remind people why he's a 4-time DPOY winner. They don't just give those out for no reason. We know Gobert can do it. We know he's done it before. So, this series, balls in the Wolves' court. It's not looking too good. They're down 2-0, backs against the wall. And, they say there's no really must-win games until you're facing an elimination. But this game 3, so crucial for the Wolves because, history's not going to be on their side if they're not going to be able to get this one done against Oklahoma City. So, Gobert, big dog, you got to step it up. You're over 7 foot. You need a bag on offense, man. They need a 10 from you that you were averaging in the season. Your numbers have gone down drastically, so, man, I need you to lock in. There might be Cancun for the Wolves, man. I know you guys want that finals, but you guys got to lock in, and it starts with Gobert. So, got to get some help for Ant-Man. Ant-Man looked good. Hopefully he takes that leap in game 3 and, starts saying, hey, this is my team. This is what superstars do in the league. When their backs are against the wall, when their team needs a bucket, they're going to be that guy. So I expect to see Ant Edwards in game 3, be a little bit more aggressive with the rock, take some more shots. And I think, if Minnesota wins that game 3 back in Minneapolis, I think it's going to be a great series. I think, they have a chance to get back in it. But like I said, it starts with your bigs. It starts with your team and Rudy Gobert. I think, against a team as complete as the Thunder, what he's doing right now is it's simply not cutting it. So, the Wolves got to go back to the drawing board. Finch got to go back to the drawing board. And, they got to figure out ways to get Gobert involved, simply offensively, whether it's on the pick and roll, getting him some easy alley-oops. So, the Wolves got to figure it out, but Gobert's got to figure it out, most importantly. They can't do it for him, guys. He's got to figure it out. And I know the Wolves don't want to get swept, like I said, against a good team, OKC. They're going to want to come out swinging in game 3. But, guys, that is going to shift us away from the NBA. Let's talk about, enough talk about the association. Let's talk about some big news in the NFL, guys. It is about time. Some recognition for the big fellas who make the game go. There is now an award at the end of the season for Protector of the Year, guys. Yes. I know you guys are all going crazy at home. Finally, an award for the big guys who make the whole thing go, guys. To be honest, without the O-line, there's no quarterback slinging touchdowns, no quarterback, staying upright. So big shout out to the O-line. And I'll say this, guys. Here's my take on this thing. I think it's going to end up being just like the MVP award. And what I say by that, you take a look at the MVP award. Who wins the MVP award? It's a QB award. Might as well just name it the QB of the Year award. You know, look at the last couple winners. They've all been QBs. So my thing is, it's probably going to be a left or right tackle award. It's going to be a tackle-dominated award. And, you know, let's be real. You know, you look at all five. People barely watch offensive line anyway, but if you look at all five, look who's always under a microscope. Look who's always on an island. Look who's always got their one-on-one. It's right tackle or it's left tackle. Those are the guys who are going against the best edge rushers with no help. You know, they got the blind side. Like I said, they're living on those islands one-on-one. So I think, you know, this is really going to become a tackle-dominated award. And, you know, while guards and centers, they definitely deserve some love too. I think some of them are definitely absolute dogs. There's some great interior linemen in the league. I think it's just the spotlight. It's natural to be on the tackles. You know, like I said before, those are the guys who are in the one-on-ones. Those are the guys who are getting paid the big bucks on the O-line to protect the blind side. So I think it is just going to be, you know, a very tackle-dominated award. I think that's who's going to rack up, you know, the most hardware. But I'm really curious to see how they're going to decide that. You know, are they going to really, the voters really got to dig into the film, because like I said, there's a lot of good offensive linemen in this league all throughout, you know, the line, tackle to tackle, you know. So overall, you know, I think it's going to be a very tackle-dominated award. But let's just say, guys, I am so happy. It's long overdue. Linemen finally getting the flowers for, you know, doing all the dirty work. And, you know, that's just a win for football culture. You know, I think I see this award, and, you know, as soon as I heard the news, you know, there were already some names that come into line, you know. And I can believe, you know, this person, you know, they're such a young guy. They're only, I believe, 24 or 25. But I think this is a person who can really take this award and really run with it. You know, Penei Sewell, left tackle for the Detroit Lions. Only 24. He's already established himself as one of the best linemen in the league. The numbers back it up. And he's pretty much on their Trent Williams level, if not better. There's a lot of guys in the league, you know. For a minute, you know, Trent Williams was kind of, you know, in a league of his own doing his thing. But, you know, now, recent years, don't get me wrong, Trent Williams is still the best in the business. But there's been some guys who have finally caught up to him and who are on the same skill level, who are on the same level of intensity, level of physicality as Trent. So I think Penei Sewell is one of those guys. And, I mean, had this award been around sooner, I think it would have been, you know, had to been renamed the Trent Williams Award, because I think he really would have ran with it. It's been clear to see he's been the best offensive lineman in the league for the last, you know, 7 years. And I think, you know, 7 years is a generous, you know, 7 years, probably longer. He's been in the league so long. But I mean, you think if the award was in the league sooner, that's definitely his award. You know, he's bringing that home every year. So, you know, I think you got the next best thing in Penei Sewell. It's a great time that this award is becoming a thing. But, you know, you look at Penei Sewell and you think of tackles. Like I said, I'm going to stick on the train of tackles for a little bit. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They got 2 candidates already on their starting O-line, both right and left tackles that, you know, can win this award straight up. Had this award been a thing last year, you know, you look at Jordan Mailata, you look at Lane Johnson, the anchors on that Eagles offensive line, part of the reason why they're doing what they do over there in Philly. But you take a look at, you know, Mailata, 1 sack allowed and only 13 pressures over 406 pass blocking snaps. That's insane in and of itself. And then you look at Lane Johnson, only allowed 1 sack the entire season, and that came on the big stage in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you look at that. You look at those guys. You look at those 3 tackles, those guys who have completely revolutionized the game, who are, you know, making offensive line fun to watching. And, you know, you see more people who are interested in, you know, how the game works up front. And I think, you know, that's awesome because, you know, as an offensive lineman, what more can I want is people, you know, being curious about the sport, trying to learn more about offensive line as a whole, because you have such great players like this who make it, you know, impossible to miss. You see these guys doing their things out there on Sunday. They're freak athletes. They're out there, you know, running 4.8s, you know, putting guys in the dirt. So, of course, people are going to start watching that. So I'm so glad, you know, those 3 tackles I think are really on notice to bring home the hardware for years to come. But then I also wanted to talk about some interior guys who I think, like I said, there's so much talent across the line in the NFL, all across the board. You know, I talked about the tackles, but now the interior, I look at, you know, Creed Humphrey, the center over there in Kansas City. This is a guy who is really, you know, in a Chiefs line who has been banged up here and there. This guy has always been a consistent. He's always been there. He's really an anchor for that Chiefs. I think the Chiefs O-line would be in big trouble without a guy like Creed Humphrey. You look at his numbers, only 7 pressures allowed, and none of those resulted in sacks, by the way. So 7 pressures, over 829 pass blocking snaps. Yep, you heard that right. 829 pass blocking snaps, only 7 pressures, guys. So that's one of the guys, one of the best interiors in the game. You look at Chris Lindstrom over there in Atlanta. Absolute dog in both the run and the pass game. Physically displacing guys in the run game. Great help. Always keeps his head on the swivel in the pass game. Always looking for work. He's one of those great guys. Part of the reason why Atlanta's had some success, they're making hay in the run game, running right behind big Chris Lindstrom. But I think, it's really, they have options in the league. And I mean, it's going to be hard. Whoever gets those votes, those journalists, those panelists who get the final say and who gets the award, I mean, they're really going to have their hands full. They're really, really, really going to have to dive into the film, I think. And they're going to have to look. I wonder what other factors are going to play or come into play. Maybe record, overall unit, maybe how much sacks your team gave up. I'm not really sure, but I think, the voters, they're going to have their hands full with this one. I think it's crazy. But I mean, long overdue, guys. Spam in the chat, guys. Spam in the comments. About time the line got some love. Hashtag line love in the comments, guys. And then that's going to bring me to my next topic, sticking with the NFL, guys. The Tush push lives to see another season, guys. As an offensive lineman, let me just say, I could not be happier. And I mean, teams, they wanted this gone. They were trying to hide. Guys, I'm not going to lie. This was some Charmin soft stuff I saw from some NFL coaches. It was bad. They wanted this ban. They were trying to hide so behind the fact that it was a safety thing. Oh, guys, it's a dangerous play. Oh, the risk of injury, guys. 2 words. Get better. 2 words, get better. And try to stop it. Guys, if you don't like it, stop it. This thing, let me just say, this tush push ban, this whole proposal, it was never about injuries, guys. It was about, a team being good at something and a team doing that because nobody could stop it. It was never about injuries. Let's be real. All these coaches who wanted it gone, they wanted it gone because they couldn't stop it. And, there is no data. They've been doing studies in the league. Don't get me wrong. They really looked into this because they really took it into consideration. The voting was close. It was actually 22-10 on keeping it in the league. They needed 24 to pass to get it banned. So, I mean, this is something that was close, but there's no physical data that supports the fact that it's an injury-heavy play. And they've looked into it. They've done studies. But, again, there's no support. So all these coaches trying to say, oh, but that play specifically, oh, it's a dirty play. Oh, guys are out there getting hurt. Guys, it's just another football play. It's just another football play according to the data. So until the data starts really giving people a reason to not like that play, I think, why not? And, coaches around the league really got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they're going to stop it because all the teams are doing is catering to their personnel. I mean, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, you look at the Buffalo Bills, those are 2 of the teams that combined for over half of the QB sneaks in the league last year. And you look at who's in their backfield. Josh Allen, 6'6", big dog. Jalen Hurts, 6+ foot, squats 600 pounds. You got Saquon Barkley back there pushing him. It's like, if you have guys who are doing that, why are you not doing that? Why are you not catering to your personnel? So I think, extremely, extremely soft-looking move from some NFL execs out there trying to get this play banned. And like I said, it's great offense. It's great, great job by those teams. You look at the teams who run it well. Like I said, that Philly and that Buffalo squad. You look at guys in their backfield. They just cater to the guys who they have back there. And league, if you're gonna keep getting cooked by the tush push, then stay mad. You got to figure out how to stop it. I don't see anybody doing that. Although there have been some teams who try to load the box, and the Philly's still making things happen. So, I mean, it's a head scratcher for sure. It's great when you have, a generational offensive line. That was really a big question with the Eagles is if they were going to be able to continue that tush-push success, without their anchor, Jason Kelce. It was first year without him. But, they really got a great guy to fill in for Kelce, and Cam Jurgens, just as good, if not, better than Kelce at, just being that lead block on that tush-push. But, I mean, they can do it all across the line. They got great guys in all positions on that Eagles line. So, like I said, comes down to it just catering to your personnel and who you got. You got a big offensive line, you got a big backfield. Why not do a tush push when you need a couple yards? And that might turn into 5 based on who you got back there. So I got to say, I'm really glad that this play lives on. We'll see next year. They're going to keep fighting it hard because Philly's going to keep being Philly. They're going to keep doing their tush push, with Saquon, with Jalen Hurts back there. So, I mean, I get it. It's frustrating, but, I mean, you really got to go back to the drawing board if you're a coach. So, tush push lives on. offensive lineman. I know you guys are all happy out there, but that is going to do it for today's episode, guys. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of What's the Word. As always, guys, if you have any suggestions or anything you want me to cover, go ahead and drop those in the comments. But like I said, guys, feel free to drop a like, drop a sub, drop a comment, share this with a friend, tell them to share that with a friend, guys. What's the Word on top? More episodes coming soon. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time on What's the Word.